Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Passion Project, a weekly podcast brought to you by the WHS Tech Crew. I'm one of your hosts, Guru, and my other host is Derek.
Hello.
This is a weekly podcast where we bring in a different guest to talk about a particular topic that they're very passionate about. It can be literally anything. Toenail connecting, elf hunting, potatoes, or oil paintings of Benedict Cumberbatch. This week, our guests are Nathan Lee and Ella Jenke.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello, guys.
Hey, Guru.
Hi, Guru. And
Off
Derek.
to a bad start.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Derek.
Hi, Ella. Hi, Nathan.
Yeah, don't forget my co-host. So how are you guys doing today?
Doing pretty well.
Pretty great, yeah.
Nice. So what have you come to talk to us about?
Well, I was first asked by you to talk about something I was passionate about. And seeing how it's right around early action time, I decided to talk about colleges, standardized testing, anything that's been occupying my life since freshman year. And
Everything wrong with the public American school system?
That can
I
maybe
don't like to bring negative connotations to this
tangent
podcast.
to,
Let's keep things positive. Thank you
I'm
very
ready
much,
to
sir.
have a productive conversation.
Yeah.
everyone.
Absolutely. And you actually asked Ella to come on with you because why don't you just explain that?
Well, because as many of you know, and if anybody watched Hyperdash, and if you did not, I recommend it is having another screening during Spirit Week. In that film, I have been shown to be one extreme of the standardized testing in college life, and I think I need to be balanced out. Not in a negative way like Ella's on the other side, but like Ella is the person that you should be, and I'm the person that you shouldn't. So
Moderation.
yeah, or just don't do what I do. We can explain later on.
That's very honorable of you, Nathan.
Thank you.
It's a good pursuit.
Trying to give the public a good education
Yeah.
Yeah.
just through
Yeah.
That's
through
kind
this.
of a pun, but yeah.
I know. That's why I said it. But I guess let's start, Nathan. When's the first time you took a standardized or self-studied for a standardized test aside from MCAS? We won't count MCAS.
So in 7th grade, when my sister was taking the SATs for her first time in junior year, by the way, I have a sister named Ingrid. She is at Harvard right now. I took the SATs with her in March, and it was a fun time. It was my first experience of being in a standardized test room. I was the youngest person there, and it was just like a good way to start off. A very horrible trail of standardized tests. Continue, sorry.
And did you take it because of your own interest, or did your parents encourage you to do it, or what was it?
I don't think anyone's inherently interested in doing like reading sections and math and learning about grammar. My parents, they didn't really have that thought in the first place, but I made the mistake of taking some of my sister's practice tests while she was doing it during that summer, and they said like, "Oh, you didn't do absolutely horribly. You should keep on studying." So I did, and then I took it.
Here I am now.
Yeah,
And-
look what happened to me.
You've just been taking more and more.
Yeah, it's been an addiction that I need to stop.
That's true. And then
My strange addictions thing.
It's the Addiction Project.
that was great though. What about you, Ella? When's the first time you had to self-study for another standardized test aside from MCAS?
The first time I took a standardized test other than MCAS was the biology SAT 2 in freshman year. I basically took it because A, I did enjoy biology during freshman year, but B, everybody else was taking it, and I did not know that subject tests existed prior to that year. But I remember during open house, all the parents were asking about it, and so I think we were all kind of ushered into that. And I remember I planned to study for it a lot, but because of conflicts, I didn't. And so I just took it, and it was my first SAT-like experience. And I had no idea what the SAT consisted of at that time in my life.
Interesting. I actually did not take the bio SAT, and I didn't actually know what a subject tech was still. And then I hear all these things about all these random people just saying oh, I'm taking the bio SAT, I'm taking this, and just such a I don't know. I guess the little freshmen just complaining about all the scores they got, or the scores that they didn't get but they wanted to get. It was just
And we were in the same class, and I remember Chocolate R gave us time to study in class or whatever if we were taking it, and it was so weird.
Yeah, I don't think it's right though that you're just expected. I mean, at least for freshmen and sophomores, they're expected to take the bio and chem essay subject tests respectively. But I don't think that's I don't like that there's a pressure to do that. Like if you don't want to, or like even if you don't like science or like those subjects in science that much.
I like the fact that we took it freshman year just because we had to get used to it.
That's
Like,
true.
I did take the SAT in, like I said, in 7th grade, but this was a completely different test. Like, if I didn't take it
Right.
that freshman year, I would have failed sophomore and junior year, and that would have been horrible.
Guru, what was your first experience with standardized testing and studying?
It was actually the year after I took the chem SAT subject test, and well, yeah, and that's that was not a fun experience.
It's something that's passed by. We can forget about it, Guru. Learn from
Exactly.
it.
I don't want to. I hated that
I
experience.
think one thing that's a struggle with it is that it's not even about, well, it is about how much you know the subject, but it's also that you have to learn the format of that specific test, because each subject test is like very different. So you have to like spend half your time figuring out how to beat that specific clock. Like I remember the chemistry one had like 80 questions in 60 minutes and you had to figure out how to take it. Or the biology one was like 20 of the questions were either molecular or ecological, and you had to like choose which one. So it's funny because like you could not go in there and really completely figure it out based on just a knowledge of biology alone. You'd have to know how the test was set up first.
And then
That's frustrating.
what about you, Derek?
What about me? What?
First standardized test.
Oh, the first time I studied for a standardized test was when we signed up for the PSAT and it came with that mini packet. And then I just
I remember
don't
that.
study.
Remember that?
Oh wait, I forgot the PSAT. Yeah, I guess that counts then.
I mean, I did the...
Let's forget about that. Let's not talk about the PSC.
No, on the Khan Academy now, that like website has like studying things for
Right.
the SAT, and I did it for 2 days in the summer, and I was like, I'm gonna be so good about this, and then I just did not do it
Nope.
ever again.
Gosh. And like I'm wondering though, was there anything, or I guess anyone that's like sort of fostered this sort of addiction or passion for taking these tests? Because
I want to say it was my own ambition, but that would be lying to you, Guru, and I would never do that. My sister, she's been a great example to me all my life. She's been the overachiever and something I should work towards. So when I saw her taking a standardized test, I obviously wanted to do the same thing. I couldn't copy her in many ways. Like, she loved to dance, and my parents wouldn't let me join Ballet Arts Center, so I had to do another sport, so I had to make it up by taking those tests with her. And it was a great bonding experience between us. Like during those hours of the night, like 1 o'clock, she was studying for it, I was studying for it. It's a good bonding experience, and I actually enjoyed it to an extent. I mean, I definitely shouldn't have, and there are so many other ways. Like, we could watch movies together, but that was a productive way to spend our time.
I'm actually wondering for you, Ella, because you also have an older brother. Did you ever feel any pressure of just like seeing your brother go through the whole process? Like, you also had to do something like that?
No, because my brother wasn't really in the track of, in like the atmosphere to really be pressured into doing all these tests. I mean, he took the PSAT and SAT and everything, but he didn't really take subject tests, and I think he did take an SAT class and stuff, but he wasn't really one to spend an extensive amount of time studying for it at home, which is completely reasonable. I think I probably put a lot more like time and stress into those tests than he did, but that was more on, it wasn't really parental pressure. I mean, they've always had kind of a set expectation of what range of kids I'm in, and then like you look at all the other kids in my classes and they're very stressed about it. So I think it was kind of like comparatively I wanted to match that, and also just to kind of widen the scope of the number of schools I could apply to and stuff. But so it was more just my own initiative to do well, but it was not a pastime.
I wanted to go back to what you said, Ella, about how you need to study for the specific test. I think that's one of the failings of the SAT, is that it isn't strictly just a measure of how well you know something, which is what a test should be. It's a test of how well you can like adapt to the weird way questions are phrased and the setup of it. And while I think that, in general, like, hey, your SAT scores, in a sense, like a range does maybe reflect your intelligence in the way that they're testing it, but I mean, you can see that there are smart kids who don't do as well on the SAT either because of pressure, or they're not prepared for it, or kids who maybe, quote unquote, like, didn't earn their score and they just happen to get a good score or whatever.
I think that for any sort of standardized test, you kind of walk this fine line between being like, well, we're going to have it be the same and more predictable, but then everybody will do well, and it's not really a measure of how intelligent you are. And then you also have this line where it's like, well, we should switch it up because we want it to be different every year so no one can predict it. But so I think in general, the SATs, they try and make their questions pretty vague. But I mean, courses teach you how to like read into that and how to understand what they're asking, or like books in different classes. But I mean, as we all know, that requires money. And so, yes, they do have some free resources out there, but overall, those are somewhat limited. And I think, I mean, there's really no way other than that to standardize, like, to kind of assess a really large group of people from different geographic areas and schools or whatever, but at the same time, it's such an unfair system. So, like, it's just this weird line between how do we get a test for everybody, or a measure of intelligence for everybody, while making it fair.
Well,
Go
I
ahead,
think
David.
that I don't think you always need like a standardized test of, because like how can you objectively identify like all these people with like so many varying talents?
Exactly, and there's different types of intelligence.
Yeah.
Being good at math is different from being good at music and good at sports and good at like
Exactly.
gardening or something.
Exactly, and like there are some people who are very creative thinkers, but maybe they're not good test takers. But that you can't diminish, their intelligence in that way, and that's why I think like that's like one of the big drawbacks of standardized testing is that like they try to like cast a whole net around like all these kids, but like it doesn't really benefit some of them.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, to build off what Ella said, taking standardized tests, it's expensive, and it's not only like in terms of money, it's expensive in terms of time.
Right.
Like if you want to study for standardized tests, you have to study months in advance, and that takes away from things that you may really want to do in your extracurriculars or like school itself. So if somebody wants to take something like the SATs, then if they don't find it very applicable to whatever subject they want to study, like let's say gardening, then they're going to be wasting their time essentially, but it's in the end to get into college. And I mean, if they find it worth it to go to a better college because of that SAT score and give up their time for gardening, then I guess it's like opportunity cost. They have to choose.
But then that begs the question, if you have to take these types of standardized testing to get into college, should they be so expensive? Because I know for certain people, like, it's not a problem to pay for taking the test and sending your scores and stuff. But for other people, they might have to narrow down, like, the list of colleges they're applying to simply because of the cost of, like, sending test scores and things like that.
And honestly, the applications themselves cost so much. Like
Yeah.
the Common App is like $70.
You need to pay,
and then like yeah,
$12 to, first of all, add the essay when you take the SAT,
Yeah.
and then another $12 to send, like, an individual score.
yeah. Plus, if you are one of those sort of like artistic people and you're just sending portfolios, they cost extra money just for like that extra part of your application. So it's kind of like not everyone like has as many opportunities to like take multiple attempts at the SAT or like multiple like sending in multiple applications.
It's actually kind of funny because Ella and we went to a Harvard tour back last April, and the person that was in charge and was talking to us, who's an admissions officer, he said that if somebody took the SAT more than 5 times, they would actually count in the activities section as an extracurricular, because if you really think about it, it's 4 hours on a weekend, including all of the studying, and actually to go on a bit backwards or to go to a related topic. It costs a lot of money to get those practice books. Those
Yeah,
books
That's
cost
very
so much.
expensive.
And a lot of them are really similar, but you still have to buy multiple ones.
And if you
to
take a class,
cover.
that-
Yeah.
there's that too.
I mean, what I find interesting, I mean, I don't know exactly how they mandate this because it's a private company and all, but like the SAT is like private, right? Yeah, because it costs so much money.
Yeah.
But
Because it costs so
yeah,
much money. in
well,
private.
you know what I mean. But that they allow all of these books in classes even to be made. I mean, I think that it's understandable if they want to have means of studying like books and stuff that are available to a lot of people, but if they allow to have these courses that cost like $1,500 and all this like special tutoring and everything, I think that introduces a lot of issues like with the different income levels. And I mean, I think one way, I mean, you couldn't really do it with the SAT because it's come so corrupt in that sense now, but like if they had like if they had some new tests where like it wasn't allowed to make all of these prep services that cost a lot of money, I mean, would that be a better system? Because I understand why they need standardized testing. I mean, we're talking about portfolios and stuff. A lot of times you might be using those to apply to like maybe a smaller, somewhat more holistic school, but when you look at something like a UCLA or Berkeley, where they have like 90,000 applicants per year, you do need some sort of measure to assess people from different geographic locations and just even to get through the large number of applicants within a reasonable amount of time. But, I mean, if you're kind of disadvantaging people by having these test prep services available at such a high price, then... Yeah.
And I think that goes back to the issue of it's not really a measure of your actual intelligence, so to speak. It's a measure of, like, how well you can prepare for the test. When it should, like, they shouldn't have to do vague questioning to, like, weed out the smart people or something. It should literally just be a measure of how much you know. And if there's people who can afford to study to learn the things that they should know, then, like you said, like, it puts people who can't afford to go to these fancy things to learn those things at a disadvantage.
That's true. But the thing is, what I've noticed about people like trying to get into college and buffing up their resume is that the college admissions people, they aren't stupid. They know that like what we're doing, some things are for college, some things are for personal reasons. Like Ella dances. That's not because she wants to get into college. That's because she loves to dance. Or Guru loves making films. But to do something like a standardized test, and in many cases a lot of extracurriculars, it's all based off of like trying to make yourself look better. And I think that what they measure with isn't your basic intelligence, because your intelligence can change a lot between when you go to college and when you end up getting a job or build some company in the future. So I think they want to know how badly you want to go there, how much you're willing to do to get into that college. Like if you want to go to some Ivy League, they don't really care how much basic intelligence, well, obviously they do, but like intuitively, they know that working hard is just as important as like being intelligent in the first place, like being born with natural intelligence. So if somebody's willing to go through all those hours to study for a standardized test, and that means they are willing to do that in college, even if it's a pointless class or even if they have to go through something difficult. So I think that's what they're looking for, and that's a flawed system, obviously, especially since it's dependent on this SAT like nonsense, corrupt. It's expensive, but I think that as a whole, that idea, that whole mentality behind it, it makes sense, and we can improve upon it, but that it's gonna stay.
But I think like I mean, someone, I think it was like a teacher who told me that there are some colleges who are kind of switching to like kind of assessing students more so on like a varied like profile. Like, have you been doing like as like are you like doing dance and also taking an SAT and also like doing this? Like, are you like the variety in like your personality as opposed to like just like those tests you take? And I don't think, I mean, like, I agree that that's basically that a lot of colleges still do it that way, but I don't think it's like fair, because I mean, like, just because someone is willing to take or even has the circumstances to be able to take that many tests, it's just not like, I don't think that's a fair way to like assess the students, especially because like you have other tests. Like, we're just talking about the SAT and stuff. Think about like APs. I mean, like the amount of AP classes you can take in school, and then also like, don't they cost what, $90 or $92? $92. And like, you know, like just because you take 10 APs and you can put that many you put that many.
No shots fired. No, you're not talking about anyone specific.
No, we're going to get to it, Nathan. I'm trying to transition.
Okay.
Well, you know, you should kind of ruin the transition. But
no, just continue.
I'm just saying.
Edit it out. Go.
Okay. I wanted to say, going back to, like, I totally believe what you said. Like, colleges want to find out who wants to go to their college, who's willing to put in all that effort to get into their college. But I think that that's screwed up and a distortion of what college should be.
Because in college, like, anytime you go out to pick a college, you're picking the college that's right for you and will help you in your future. So I think like having the sole measure, or not the sole measure, but like a big part of it just be like your transcripts or like your SAT score, which is standardized thing. It's not,
Yeah, what I just wanted to say was I think it's screwed up that they're focusing on how bad someone wants to get into their college, which, I mean, it shows that colleges have an ego versus, like, we want people who are good students.
I think I'm not exactly sure. I think Nathan meant a little bit more that they want kids who are clearly showing a large amount of effort just into their application in general. Like, the fact that they're spending this much time trying to make themselves like appear well, not necessarily in terms of their own college in specific, because I think that they do that through other measures such as like campus tours and stuff like that and interviews, but I think he means like how much effort people are putting into their resume and all of that stuff. Kind of talks about how badly you want to attend a good college, like overall, and I still agree that that's super flawed, but I think there's like a slight difference there, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I concur.
Of course.
Just really quickly. Yeah. She's reiterating my own opinion, so that's always the ego booster. But yeah, continue.
So APs.
Oh.
So APs.
That was the transition you were looking for. So smooth. It just came out of nowhere.
I mean, okay, fine. Just to go back to
No. I'm ready.
to go back to the point I was about like the APs and stuff. I think that's another sort of like standardized test that talking about like pressure and stuff. A lot of kids, especially in high school, are like pressured to take them. I mean, how many AP tests are like each of you guys taking right now? I mean, like I can say I'm taking 3 APs right now, and then Derek
Oh, I'm taking 2 total.
2, and then Nathan and Ella.
Yeah, he has a longer list. I'll go first. I took AP Computer Science last year, and then this year I'm taking 4 AP classes, and then that equals 5 tests because econ has 2 tests.
This year, I am taking 3 classes. I think I'm going to self-study 2. And last year, I took 8. And sophomore year, I took 3. But 2 of them were the same. It's for extracurricular reasons. So in total, it's still only 9 to this year, and then it'll be 14.
Only 9.
Only 9.
Not even double digits yet.
Well, it'll be 14.
I mean, I still remember last year when Nathan said he told me he was gonna be taking 10.
Yep.
And then even in my film Hyper, at least at the time, he said he was still planning on taking 10.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure what happened in the span of those 2 weeks.
May I explain?
Defend? Yeah, okay.
No, not defend. just explain. The 2 tests that I was going to take that I didn't end up taking were European history and world history, which I'm going to be taking this year because I already studied for them for the most part. It was 3 weeks, I think, before the first AP test. I think it was going to be environmental science on Monday. I couldn't really sleep at the time. Like, it wasn't even a matter of whether or not I was willing. It was a question of if my brain could take studying more. Like, just balancing, like, remembering everything just took up so much space and so much of my time that I thought it would be better to take those 8 and keep it safe. Like, I'm going to at least get a 4 on these 8 than risk everything and for those extra 2 that I know I could take the next year.
But did you ever stop and think about, like, maybe the lack of sleep had a more negative effect on your brain that offset the positive effect of studying more? Like, you could have studied less but understood more concept and understood it more holistically, and the sleep would have helped you process it?
Well, to quote Ella, I look like death. That's just simply put. About 1 week into the APs, I came into school and another quote, my skin looked purple. And
I concur.
Do you remember that? Do you remember that? It was.
I do.
Yeah.
Very, very vividly.
Yeah, I don't even like.
And like your
remember
mood,
those
I
2
can also talk about like some of Nate, just his sort of behavior during those 2 weeks. He was like, because of the lack of sleep, he was just kind of like all over, like emotionally. He was like, there were a lot of mood swings. Like sometimes he would be talking to us at the end of the day, like super pumped and excited to just go home and study more, and then like 5 minutes later he'd be freaking out because he had to go home and study more, and it'd just be like,
yeah, I want to have some input in here, but I actually don't really remember.
Because I mean, like, here's the thing. I mean, like, we've talked about this. Like, you ended up doing actually really well on all the tests. But like, the thing is, like, at what point? And the thing is, like, you're not the only one. It's not like you're like an exception here. I know other kids who have done or like are going to do the same thing as you. And it just kind of begs the question, though. Like, at what point are you gonna like, you know, what's your limit? You know what I mean? Just for like the college or like for your resume, you know, I get it, but at the same time, like, can you risk your whole life and health?
Well, at the beginning of this podcast, I made it abundantly clear that I am the person you do not want to be in high school, and Ella should be the one that you do want to be. So, no, I think that I definitely passed the limit of standardized testing. I took I think like 23 so far since 7th grade, and that's just stupid. Looking back on it, just Jesus, like I have to chill.
I know a kid who, when he was a freshman, I think he took, I don't know, I forget the exact number. I think like 4, I think his freshman year, like self-studied 4 or maybe 5. It was around that number. But
4, yep.
yeah. But like, I think it's just, especially if you can go down like the years. I mean, I think it's kind of interesting. Like when you were saying like your older brother didn't feel that need, but then like, yes, you were going it through your own process. You felt that need to do it, and you guys all feel that sort of the sibling of like this pressure of just like my older siblings doing it, or like I need to like I'm not you, sorry, but like at least that other kid, that other kid and Nathan did feel that pressure of just like wanting to sort of catch up or like be like them in a sense.
And I think, like you said, not only time, but like where you grow up too has a difference. Because you guys, well, Guru, I know that you like first grew up in Woburn, but Ella, did you and Nathan, you guys both were born in Winchester, right?
I was born in Somerville.
But like you've been living
here in first grade, so it's like I didn't really have experiences.
Born in Winchester Hospital, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Actually,
the
for
way.
me, it's like I was born in India, and then like my parents have they've only been like they went obviously they went to school in India, and then like once they came here, they've been like, especially with the college process, they've been like very like confused, but like also like they've been confused, but they act like they know everything, even though it's a completely different
Classic
system.
Parents.
But
Parentals.
yeah, continue, Derek.
No, but just because I first grew up, like I spent the first like 10 or 11 years of my life in Medford, and I have 3 older siblings, and they're like 6, 9, and 10 years older than me. So for me, it was like, oh, try your hardest on the SAT, but like if you don't do that well, it's not like a huge deal. You can retake it or whatever, or you cannot retake it. And like I hate to say it, but I grew up in a town where it's, the graduation rate of the high school like is kind of high, but not everyone's going to college, so it wasn't seen as like the end all be all of who you were if you didn't get into like an Ivy League or something. And so like I don't feel as much pressure from my family, but I can definitely see how it's present in Winchester.
I mean, even if you look back, like in Winchester, like some people who like Winchester graduates, like a few years ago, they did not feel these things. I mean, like I know a teacher who like when he was in high school, the word stress was like never. He went to high school in Winchester, and the word stress was just never thrown out. Like you just like now it's like coming up all the time. I also think it's kind of interesting to think about. I mean, I know what I said like earlier to like sort of like ignore MCAS, but like if you think about MCAS, like little kids from 8 or 9 years old are trained to take standardized tests. I mean, it's kind of like we're sort of like bred to do it. I mean, even you were saying like get prepped for high school. I'm like we're getting prepped since like elementary school.
True.
So.
I mean, I think a lot of the change has to do. I think everywhere. I mean, Winchester particularly, but like in any sort of competitive town, I think the digitalization of like stuff, of academic stuff has really contributed a lot. I mean, if you can go online and just see the numbers everywhere, statistics from all the schools you like, what all your grades are, it's very easy to kind of quantify everything. And whereas maybe in the past, if you didn't have quite all these accesses to all of these numbers, maybe you would look at a school that you want to go to more as just a place where you could learn this or learn that, but now it's more like you're choosing your school based on your SAT score. I know that sometimes like when you look at Naviance and you kind of have like the red or green like numbers, it's easy to be like, well, like it's green for this one, so that's a go, or it's like it's red for this one, so I could never get in there. So you get that people are aiming for schools that have a SAT range rather than a subject that they're looking for, and I think that's not good.
Yeah, especially because like I even have a friend who last year she got into like a really sort of like high up college, even though like her GPA was like nowhere near it. So I think it's like, I mean, as you were saying, like you can't always like just doubt your abilities or like your ability to get into maybe like a very sort of a college that expects a lot just based off of whatever your SAT score is, whatever your GPA is or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like well, what we were talking about earlier. GPAs, standardized tests, extracurriculars, they all are like variables that they put into admitting somebody. And I think that since like commitment, that is the number one aspect that they're looking for, not just like intelligence or like how much leadership you have. It's how committed you are to improving yourself and being just like the perfect person.
But I don't think you can use standardized testing to like show that you're extremely committed, especially because like you don't always have to like like say like, oh, I took you don't have to send like that many scores to colleges anyway. But then like I mean you can show that you're committed by saying like, oh, I've been a part of this club or this organization for like 4 years. I've been doing dance for like 10 years or something like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like that also shows commitment.
14?
14.
Is it right?
13.
13.
I mean that was just a random number. I don't
No,
know.
no, you're good.
But like I think there are other ways to show commitment, at least to the colleges, and I think they know it too, than just your how many times you took the SAT or how many AP classes.
I think it
you
actually gets to the point of a problem if somebody's taking the SAT more than 3 times. Like they'll start looking at it negatively. But the reason why I think it's a commitment, or the reason why I think standardized testing does show commitment, is that from personal experience, those long nights of studying when you're like cramming school and then right after you have to cram standardized testing between extracurriculars and sports, it's if somebody doesn't want something so badly that they're willing to do something like that, then they're not going to do it. So standardized testing, they're very flawed in the way they test you and in how expensive they are, but they do show whether or not somebody really wants to do well.
I think also you look, I mean, with with Nathan, you're still doing other stuff other than the test. Like you only get like 2 hours of sleep a night, if at most, maybe like 10 minutes, like on average. But I mean, you're still doing other things like crew or whatever. I think a lot of other kids do not have the capacity or ability without death to be able to commit to that level while also committing to other things. So I think with you have a special case where you are physically able to stay alive and commit that much.
Disclaimer again, do not be me. I want to stress.
We get it.
I want to emphasize that my lifestyle is not a goal. It should be something you avert yourself from.
I mean, honestly, for any episode we do, just be you guys. Be you.
Yeah, I mean, these are opinion things. We're not
Yeah.
like, Nathan, that fact is actually wrong. Like, no.
Your life is wrong.
Ella, actually, Nathan gets an average of 15 minutes per night,
Yeah.
not 10.
Yeah.
Fact check.
Yeah, you must know. He has a whole time log that he shows me.
I only showed you one of them, Guru. They're very private to me.
What were you saying?
Oh, but yeah, like I think the thing with testing that like I don't know how I feel about the commitment thing. I feel like it's interesting because you are learning a lot of subjects and you're showing that you can spend this much time and that you have such a strong work ethic. So I do definitely agree with that I think it does show how insane your work ethic is. But then also like you also want to show that you can do things that aren't super results driven. So I think it's like about finding a balance.
That's life.
I agree. See, she is the balance. That's why I brought her here.
Okay. Well,
That's why
actually,
we need to
if
get
you're talking
extra
about like a
opinion.
balance or something, like what would you say? Because there's always been a debate about this, about like putting a cap on like how many AP classes you can take in high school. Like I'm not sure what you guys' opinions are on that.
I think you should do what you're interested in. And if what you're interested in is taking 15 APs, then go for it. I don't think that you should feel necessarily inclined without your will to do that, but I think if that's what you want to do, then you should do it.
Coerced to take 15 APs.
Coerce, yeah. No, I mean, in general in high school, like, I think one of the main issues right now is that things are so regulated that kids aren't always doing what they want to do. So, I mean, I think you should basically do whatever interests you and whatever you would enjoy spending your time doing, or what you would prefer if enjoy does not apply.
Yeah, there's always those core classes you have to take in high
Yeah.
school, like geometry. I've heard many stories and from personal experience, that was one of the rougher patches of high school for many people. And maybe some people would have liked it better if they filled up that spot with something that they really love to do, like an elective or an independent study. So
Yeah, I mean,
it's
I
more
think
freedom.
I think it is important to have a core curriculum, though. I think there's a certain set of knowledge. I'm not saying we should all become like specialists and be like, all I want to do is biology every block, every day, every year, because then you won't I think there's a certain amount of regulation that's necessary. I mean, you need to have a basic knowledge in every discipline. So I mean, in that way you can even discover what you're interested in freshman year is not going to really always align with what you're interested in later. But I mean, I think that
I actually totally agree with that. That's part of the reason why I took those APs is because I actually don't know what I'm interested in, and I want to take these tests to see how good I am at all of these subjects, and so which one I'd probably be viable to go into. But I think, also agreeing with you that we need a core curriculum. Biology, you can't just forget about it if you don't like it.
Yes, you can.
Oh, it is your choice. Yes,
you can forget about it after you've taken it.
Yeah, but you were exposed to it, and you
Yes.
know what it is,
Exactly.
and you know that you don't like it.
Yeah,
Which is more than you
that's-
would know if you never took biology.
Exactly, that is the valuable asset of high school. But I think that if there's a class that everybody dislikes and nobody really puts time into, just what?
World history.
Okay, no, world
Actually,
history
I
is
like
important.
world history.
though.
Bam. Okay, so we got a moment of contention. This is some good podcast material.
I feel like this has all been
I
a
think-
conversation that's slightly argumentative, but
Yes.
I respect
Oh,
everyone.
That's what he
involved in this.
wanted.
That's what I wanted? Oh, wait, I did want it. No, never mind. Sorry. I forgot my previous words.
Okay.
Don't quote me. Yep.
What was your class that you do not think?
I already stated it. I did not like geometry at all.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it was I guess the proofs were fun, but
I
got
don't
tired
think
of
it's specifically, in my opinion, I don't think it's specifically geometry. I don't think it's really the skill set of geometry, the knowledge, oh, this is a triangle, this is a trapezoid or whatever that you need to know. I think it's the fact that geometry is kind of a foundation of math and the ability to reason and prove things and stuff like that. So in that sense, I actually think geometry is super important. But I mean,
See, this is why she came on. Everyone probably would have agreed with me that geometry is stupid, and then she
I mean,
brings it back.
well, I mean,
Bam.
as someone who I actually enjoy math, but geometry has never been my favorite thing. at least in the class that you had to take in geometry, there were some flaws in the way
Yeah.
you were taught, especially with
Oh.
a lot of the projects we had to do, which
projects.
with
Fun-
they had
fun
nothing.
stuff.
They did not reinforce any of the material.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Especially
the origami one.
or the
I'm just
tessellation
gonna
one.
name drop the tessellation, yeah. Tessellation.
yeah.
Okay,
But
but
let's not talk about that.
I mean, I agree with both of you that geometry is stupid, and with Ella that it does teach you reasoning. For me, my biggest issue with geometry was you could look at something and know these two angles are the same, or this thing corresponds with this thing, but if you didn't remember the name for the theorem,
yeah.
sorry, you get the whole proof wrong, and if you
Oh,
don't do it
absolutely.
exactly the right
I
steps.
think that's
but-
more of an issue of the semantics of the class, though. How are you taking this? How is the class set up? Not necessarily the skill set. I mean, I think that the ability to prove and I mean, the thing about geometry that's kind of funny is you look at the triangle and you're well, these two angles are the same, yes, but how is it that I know that? And I think that's what's kind of interesting about it, but also passion project geometry edition. I don't know. I think it's just the fact that you can prove something, whether it's a triangle or whether it's something else. I mean, you see proofs later in calculus, right? I mean, before freshman year, I didn't know what a proof was. I didn't know how to, formally do a proof. So I agree that maybe finding, the area of a cone attached to a trapezoid and a cube with a sphere on top is maybe a slightly irrelevant in practical real-life applications.
I think you should withhold that from the podcast for now because we're going to do that in calculus class. So if you say that right now, I don't think she'll appreciate it very much. I'm just saying. And she's also a geometry teacher. Oh,
I mean,
no.
you
I
made
love geometry.
You
You're
made
so
this.
nice.
You made this a big thing to be, but okay.
Geometry is a fun time.
Oh, geometry was great. It was.
I'll leave it at
As he tries to eat up all those words.
Hey, geometry.
I feel like the rest of this is gonna be a whole.
The
set
thing
of
that made
contradictions.
geometry great was the teachers.
Do you actually? I'm just wondering. With the whole AP things, actually.
Yep.
Do you think do you think it's wrong for people to just take the AP just for the sake of as you were saying, the resume thing, or would it be a case of oh, I'm willing to take a really advanced course as a way of showing my commitment? Like, how would you view someone who like just maybe takes like 5 APs but maybe not interested in everything?
I think the only reason why I wouldn't like somebody to take the APs is because they want to get into a certain college, just one specific college, but for no other reason. That's the only reason why I wouldn't like somebody to take an AP. Like, if they want to challenge themselves, then that's amazing. If they want to learn about the subject or be exposed to it because they don't have a class in school, like I know comparative government or U.S. government politics, that's not available in our school, but they're important subjects. So if you want to self-study and take the test, that's amazing. But if you're doing it for the resume, and I think it's a different than SATs in that like there's the commitment factor. With APs, its purpose was so that you can like take out college credit in the course and maybe continue on in college in a more advanced one instead of wasting more time. And I know that you have a limited amount of classes you can take in college, so you want to utilize that to its optimal degree. So I think that APs, they shouldn't be like counted in the commitment category. You have to take it because you're either interested in the subject, want to be exposed to the subject, or just want to challenge yourself as a student.
Okay, out of curiosity, I know you said you like studied for, you didn't take the AP test, but you studied for like the world history one and the
European history.
European history. Would you say that because of your studying, you now feel like you have a decent grasp on it and could have a conversation about it, about those topics?
I mean, those two topics, because I couldn't finish studying for them, it's kind of incomplete. Like, if I wanted to talk to somebody about, like, psychology, then I probably could. I mean, I took that in sophomore year, so it's a bit rusty. But I do want to take that in college, and I'll have a basic knowledge, even though it'll be a couple years.
What about, like, something like comparative government?
That would be awesome to talk to someone about. Because the thing is that with comparative government, it's based off of 5 countries. You learn about them, all of their governments, I guess. And then they test you on them. But the coolest thing about it is that you get to learn about so many different aspects of government that you didn't even think were possible. Like, one of them is Nigeria. Their system is completely different than the United States and China and Great Britain. That you really wouldn't get that understanding of like worldliness that you would get if you didn't take that test or you didn't study for it. Also, you get to like learn about it in college too, so that's awesome.
Nice. Was that the test that you accidentally...
Oh yeah, I read off the wrong book.
This is a fun story.
Yeah, so I bought the wrong book because I don't know why. It looked like it was official, so I bought it and I studied off of it. Turns out it wasn't actually for the AP comparative government test, and I was just so crammed with work that I didn't even check that the countries were wrong. Like, I was studying from the wrong countries. Like, as I said, there's 5 countries you need to study off from, and I got one of them right, but the other 4 I didn't study at all. And it was 11 o'clock the night before the comparative government test, and I think I had another one that day, so I was really exhausted from studying that afternoon. And I just had to find a PDF of one online and start from scratch. And yeah, I took the test the next morning at 7 o'clock. It was an intense period.
But do you feel like even though you studied for 4 countries you didn't need to, are you glad that you have that knowledge now?
Well, I mean, I'm glad that I made the mistake to read off the wrong book, because after that, I instead of only knowing about 5 countries, I know about 12, 13. So yeah, I think that's... Yeah, that's another thing. I didn't realize I only needed to know 5.
Oh,
I
okay.
thought it was 7. So yeah, it was bad. It was really bad. On the topics of the other APs, I think that if somebody can take AP Economics, macro and micro to be specific, that would be amazing, because those really open my eyes in the economy. You can become a much better citizen. That being said, for the U.S. government and politics AP as well. But of course, these go in depth to degrees that you don't really need as a civil servant or as a citizen.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in these topics, but you're not willing to spend the $92 and study for the abstract topics in each test, then just study it on your own and learn about the things that you're interested in. You don't have to take a test for it to have that kind of recognition or like that number to reinforce that you know it.
They got rid of like weighted grades or something like that, would that
affect whether or not I study for tests?
No.
Yes, it would. Just to make it clear.
Would you think that in let's just take Winchester, like just our town,
Mhm.
being as competitive and like overachieving as it is. Would that have any effect on the number of students who would be spurned to take like all these AP classes?
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
It's not good. It's horrible that
It's-
people do this, but it's life. You can't stop it.
The origin.
Oh,
of
that-
this
okay, but
problem.
I just want to say the fact that you said it's life and you can't stop it shows me that you're just saying there's something shitty about the world, and I'm not even going to make a vague attempt to try. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that's a bad
Yeah.
thing, because it's always like, I'm one person, what can I do? But like, you could take less APs than
Yeah,
everyone's
that's
telling
definitely
you to.
an
Or
active choice
honestly,
people
even
can
the
take.
school could reinforce a message like that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's definitely like a pressure from the school, from the parents, from amongst students themselves to like go to the extreme lengths for a standardized test, whether it be an AP or whether it be like taking as many subject tests as you can, or like taking the SAT as many times as you can. But like, it's almost like if you take a step back and like think about it, like it all adds up to like what, you know, like you get a good seat and you possibly get a good seat in like what may be your dream college, or maybe you don't. Maybe you wasted all that time for nothing. You never know.
I think that as long as these tests are available, people are going to want to take them incessantly, because they're like, the thing is, like, they can make it optional, which they are, but like if they're optional, there's always going to be one kid who does all of them. And
Cough, cough.
I actually wasn't really meaning to
Oh,
imply that
great.
to
Oh.
you, but actually, no, I just mean like there's going to be one kid who decides to do all of them and looks really good and does well. I mean, because, you know, it takes effort and stuff. And so I think that if you see one person pushing themselves to that level, then everybody else is going to want to. So I think it's going to take an effort it's like either everybody does it or no one does. I don't think it's making it really optional or anything like that. It really helps very much. And then like if they don't really have any impact on how you get into college, then no one's going to take them at all, because
feel
like, then
like-
there's
well,
no purpose.
I guess that's true.
I actually think that I support that you should limit the amount of APs that you take from personal experience, partially because as you know, Guru, and or not, Ella, you don't know yet. Taking APCS junior year, it was an experience, and it was interesting because I didn't really take AP classes. I self-study for them mainly. I took only 2 classes last year, which is about average for an honor student. So it wasn't like anything special, but when I was taking that class, I didn't really pay attention as much as I should have, which is an understatement. And when I took the test, I was cramming for so many other ones that I just couldn't study for that one, or to the length that I wanted to. So somebody like Ella, who partitioned her time much better than me, got a 5 on it, and I did not. Undisclosed score, because it's not a 5.
Just tell everyone what Ella got.
Oh, well, she should be proud of it. She should
I know, she
have it
should-
on a flag and put it on top
She
of
should
Winchester
definitely
High
be
School.
proud of the score. You don't need to tell the whole world about it.
Shout it on the mountaintop that you got a 5, please.
It's a sad life right there.
You achieved, and now she's taking OCCS, and I could never. I don't even know what Java is. That's a coding language that we were tested on, by the way.
So you do know what Java is.
I know Java is in coffee, and I know Java is in a type of coding language. If you ask me anything about it, then I know about neither of them. I shall become the next.
I just think, oh,
Guru, imagine our
I
passion
will say-
project.
I will say, I think that at least when you were saying it, Derek, like, some people feel like, oh, one person can't make a difference. I think there's some level of truth to that. I mean, like, at least like in the movies, one person always makes a difference.
Yeah,
But
that's
then
true.
like in real life, what it takes, I think, is like a community as like a whole, and I think definitely like Winchester as a community could work like to improve upon some of the, at least upon the pressures of like the parents of the students and the teachers and the school as a whole, to like not have as many like kids who are they feel obligated to take these tests. And I think especially like I wish at least parents would do it like earlier, especially because like if you think about it, as again, starting elementary school, you have to take standardized tests. Starting in like middle school, you have to take leveled classes, and you have opportunities to take the SAT or like whatnot. And I think I just wish there'd be more communication amongst people, because like maybe one person can't do it, but like I think a lot of people could.
But, okay,
Could
sorry.
Fine, you go.
Sorry,
You go.
no, this is a really
Go.
fast thing. I mean, I agree with you, but I think that one person can spark that change, like you did with your film Hyper or something.
That's exactly what I was
Oh.
thinking about this entire
Sorry.
time. I was just been waiting to play. If only there was something some movie or anything that could spark that fire in each person to improve their community. If there was, I would watch it, or have watched it multiple times in
Or
the past.
star in it.
Or
And
Or
plan
starred.
to watch it even more.
Oh wait, actually, you're all in it. Now that I think about it.
yeah, we're all in it.
Huh. Thanks, Nathan. I was trying to not put my own plug in, but thanks.
Hyper.
Well, it happened, Guru.
Hyper.
Dash.
Hyper Dash. Its official name has become Hyper Dash.
You say hyper, I say dash.
Okay.
Hyper.
Hyper.
Hey, I say. Wait,
I
okay,
didn't mean it
said
from my
you say
perspective.
hyper.
Yeah, Hyper.
Dash.
Hyper.
Dash.
Guru, you say the dash now. Hyper. Dash.
Okay, but it's an M dash, not an N dash, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What?
Grammar,
Very
folks.
You
confused.
studied for grammar on the SAT.
Wait, no,
you
it's-
don't know an M and an N dash.
I don't want the difference
I
between
don't
an
get
M dash and an N dash.
It's
What?
like the
And
difference
M
between,
dashes are long, and then like N dashes are really short.
Oh.
Oh.
like when
okay.
you're doing a date
Oh,
range
oh, yeah,
versus
yeah.
an
Okay,
sentence,
okay, I
right?
got
But
And then
like,
like in like sentences and stuff. This is like just a quick grammar lesson. In like sentences and stuff, like use the M dashes to like connect points and stuff, whereas like the N dashes are like the connecting like words.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So-
yeah.
So
I would like to point out that this passion project has covered such a wide scope of subject material. We've covered comparative gov. We've
Mhm.
covered comp sci. We've covered geometry. We've covered
We're passionate about a lot of things.
covered
We can't
in
control
grammar.
I mean, this
which
should
I
go on
think
for so
which
much
I think
longer,
may
too.
speak to standardized tests as a whole, since there's just so much that every test covers.
Yeah.
Wow.
it. Yeah, we
I
could
mean,
talk about
I
each
I have
API
to say,
Oh, but-
I have a lot more support for APs than I do for SATs. I think that APs increase
Yeah.
your knowledge as well as subject tests.
Yeah.
I mean, at least you're learning something.
That's true. That's
You're
very
learning
true.
something that will be applicable. You know, I mean, sure, it's in a testing situation, but at least it gets you to study, gets you to learn, to
True.
do some work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Guru, I was gonna
Preach.
ask. I know you're talking about changes in the community or whatever. Do you guys, and this goes to all of you, do you guys think that middle schoolers should not be allowed to take the SAT?
I think
Some private schools require them.
What
To
the-
be
for the SSAT, you have to take the SSAT to get into private school. It's like the SAT except easier.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
okay,
there
but
we go.
I'm talking about the regular. Like, do you think that someone in 7th or 8th grade should be able to take a subject SAT or like the regular SAT, not to get into a private school? Just
It's tough
Because-
because like I only know one kid, and that's Nathan.
Well, I actually know
Wow.
multiple.
Fine, I personally say no, but that's just my personal opinion.
I think that the option should be there well, no. I think that the thing is that it's difficult to take the test. I had to go to a bank to sign my name and get like another like signature and get a stamp from someplace else. So it was a really long process for me to be allowed to take that test. So that definitely would disinterest many people from doing that. And the problem with taking it 7th and 8th grade is that you're not really born with the interest to take a standardized test. So when you're that young, it's mainly based upon like parents or siblings. So that type of ambition shouldn't be the type of ambition that drives these types of things. So I think that it shouldn't be banned, but regulated very heavily so that people who do take it really want to take
I
it.
agree.
I think
That's a
that
mess of an answer. Yeah,
the
continue.
middle schoolers should be able to take the PSAT, but not the official SAT.
I would
'cause-
agree with that.
Yeah, because I like even then I don't even know why you'd want to take it, but I feel like that's a good medium between like they want to get experience or they want to take it, but like
It doesn't count towards anything.
not even that. Just like who, this is so screwed up that people are taking the SAT in middle school.
Well,
It was a fun experience. I got to drink Snapple for my first time as a present from my parents.
nice.
Yeah, it was
I
during the
guess.
break. I was like, I always wanted to drink Snapple. They're like, no, it's really bad for you. So during the first
I mean,
break,
it
they
is,
packed me one.
but
It's nice. I wasn't actually supposed to bring Snapple, by the way.
But-
Never mind. Yeah, continue.
Oh no, we're gonna end now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
oh,
but,
no,
sad.
there's so much more I wish we could talk about.
But still, I mean, we're almost like an hour right now.
I
But
know.
Nathan and Ella, thank you so much for coming on to this episode. It's been really great talking to you guys about this topic.
Thank you so much, Guru.
Thank you.
Yeah, and
And Derek.
Yes.
Derek, this was a great experience.
Yeah, this was really
Absolutely.
good, and I really feel like this is a productive conversation.
We covered
and
a lot
I
of
had
topics.
a really great time.
Oh,
And we had our own personal opinions about each one of them. It's
Exactly.
truly a project of passion.
And we managed to acknowledge each other's opinions, and maybe we disagreed, but we never said your opinion is wrong. And I feel like overall 2 thumbs up.
Absolutely.
3 if I had 3.
I love how you were doing it beforehand, but you had to say it because this is a podcast.
I don't know, because I was like, crap.
Yeah. But be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. All our other episodes are on there right now.
I concur.
And also be sure to follow the WHS Tech Crew on Facebook at WHS Tech Crew and Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat at WHS_Tech Crew. I'm Guru, and that's Derek right over there.
And if you would like to see what Ella actually looks like instead of in a podcast, you should watch Hyperdash and her ghost scene in it.
And Nathan.
And me. All of us in this room. Yeah. If you want to see our faces, then watch Hyperdash.
Or look
Available
at
to you in November
or
during
look
Spirit
at
Week.
The picture on the YouTube video.
Yes, it'll be if you just
Fine, me and Ella.
if you're just watching this, listening to the episode, the logo will have their lovely faces. All right, guys, thank you, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah.